Greetings viewers, Eric the Car Guy here, also known as ETCG1 on this channel. Here on ETCG1 we talk about stuff, we don't do repair videos, so if you're looking for repair videos, please just go down into the description and you can click the link to my Eric the Car Guy channel and you can go there and watch all the repair videos you like. If you want to stick around and join in the discussion, welcome. You know, lately on this channel I've noticed that I've really pointed out a lot of the negatives in people and situations and those kinds of things. You know, I bring that up and a lot of us agree on a lot of those things, those negative things that affect us in our day-to-day, either in our workplace or people we may know or have to deal with and that sort of thing. And today I wanted to put a different spin on things. Today I was thinking, you know what, maybe we should talk about something positive. Honestly, it wasn't that hard to come up with. It was just, it never crossed my mind before, but positive influences. I mean, we talk about those people that might affect you in a negative way. So let's talk about some of those people that might have influenced you in a positive way. For me, it goes back into my days in school. I had a few teachers and instructors along the way that were very influential and very positive and gave me a very positive outlook and a lot of encouragement for the things that I was doing or wanted to do, and that was always really great to encounter people like that were willing to go the extra mile and to just sort of be helpful and be supportive. Because we're often, at least I'm often, sometimes surprised when people are supportive because it doesn't seem to be the norm. So when it does happen, it's a very positive thing and it has a very positive spin on your day, your life. It's really nice to have positive reinforcement for the things that you're doing. But as I said, you know, I for some reason gravitated towards these people that were really influential in my life and really gave me a more positive outlook. In my younger days, and it's no secret that I wasn't a very positive member of society myself. But as time went on and as I got older, I began to see things very differently. And a lot of that was because of those positive influences that I had. And I wanted to be more like them. I wanted to have more of a positive influence in the world around me rather than the negative, because I'd spent a lot of time doing a lot of negative things and getting a lot of negative attention. Sometimes when you're young, good attention or bad attention is attention and you don't even realize that you're seeking it. But fortunately, I had these influences and people that I knew and sometimes parents of friends that were very, very influential in a positive way. As far as when I got to automotive school, there were quite a few there. All of my instructors in school were very influential, but one that sticks out in particular was Dan Svitko. And he was the guy that taught me the performance and AC and drivability and all that kind of stuff. And he was one of those kind of guru type people. But no BS, didn't talk down to you, just talked to you. And it was just really nice to have somebody that had that level of knowledge that was willing to share it and be so open and forward with it. That's something I don't often find. As far as my career, I'm trying to think of people in my career that were positive that I was around. There were guys that I worked with that were positive, but you know, nobody on a mentorship level that I can think about, you know, either in management. Well, actually there was one shop owner. There were a couple of shop owners now that I think about it, that did have a positive influence. One was rather strange. He was into martial arts, and funny thing was I went in for my job interview with him and it lasted 3 hours, and in the course of that 3 hours somehow we got into him showing or demonstrating his knife skills. Odd, but what I admired so much about him was he was quite an entrepreneur. He started with very little, built his business up over time, and it was always great to sit down with him and learn from him and learn from his experiences to help apply to my own ambitions, so to speak. And some of them I still use today. Some of them I have. And then other times I can think, one time I was in Troy, Ohio, which is where the Honda parts facility is and also the Honda training facility is. And one day I'd gone out to lunch at one of the local restaurants, a local restaurant, not a chain restaurant, a local restaurant, and sat down, and I was just sitting there by myself, and there was an older gentleman that was sitting in a booth next to me that called me over and asked if I wanted to have lunch with him. I said, what the heck? Turns out his name is Buck Rogers. And he pretty much owned all the land that Troy, Ohio was built on. Early on, several years back, he went into a partnership with somebody and they purchased a great deal of land. Over time, the land was developed, and he taught me quite a bit about how to get rich, so to speak. And it was interesting. It was interesting. One thing I'll impart that he passed on to me was that one of the things he liked the most was to try to put himself in situations to where the checks that he got were never touched by human hands. Those were his words. So that, you know, for a while I was a landlord myself, and that was a rather difficult thing to try to get money from individuals. But in his case, one of the things he specifically spoke about is on part of his land there was a cell phone tower. And because of that, 1/8 of an acre was worth something like a couple of grand a month to him. And nobody ever signed it, touched the check or anything. It was printed out by a machine, sent out to him, boom, it was done. It was just something that happened every month. Take that little piece of wisdom if you're an entrepreneur yourself and see what you can do with that and try to work towards that. As far as like influences out in the world, and this may sound corny coming from me, but I'm just going to come out and say it. Oprah Winfrey. I'm a huge fan of Oprah. It's funny to say, but I've always liked her. I've always liked her spin on things. I've always liked her take on things, and I always appreciated the fact, because for a while there, back in the late 80s and early 90s, talk shows were all the rage, and they were all over the place. And I used to really enjoy watching them just because, you know, it was reality TV before reality TV, before they decided, hey, we can take this on the road and start following cops around and get all the reality we want. There was other things like Jerry Springer, for instance, and Geraldo Rivera, who really went after the sensational stuff. And Oprah did that for a while too, but she got away from it rather quickly, and she realized, or at least in my eyes, she tried to do it differently. She tried to have a positive influence in the things that she did. I think at some point there was like a turning point, and she did that. And I've always admired that about her, and learning about her past and how she grew up and where she is now, it makes a lot of sense. I don't think people strive to live in the public life unless they're looking for it, and as she said, we're all looking for validation, unless they're looking for a lot of validation. And I can see how someone perhaps with her upbringing and her childhood would seek validation on a level that brings her to where she is today. But I think it's deeper than that. I think it comes from a place to where she truly has a genuine desire to be a productive, contributing member of society. And that's what I admire about her. Yes, you know, she interviews famous people and is one of the richest women in the world. I say good for her, you know, good for her. So why fault somebody for that kind of success in what they've done? And as I've said, you know, I watch her show on occasion. I leave feeling more positive. And that's what this video is about. It's about those positive influences in your life. And those are some of mine. So I'm going to turn it back to you and ask you to help contribute to the conversation. And who was a positive influence in your life? Who brought a different point of view to your way of thinking? Who might have turned things around for you? Maybe you were like me and you weren't necessarily doing the right things or legal things or stuff like that while you were growing up. And then one day maybe you ran into somebody who maybe said a few words that completely turned you around and started you on a different path, and maybe your life is better. Maybe it's not, but I'm going to assume that it is, because we're talking about positive influences here. Who have you met in your life that has given you that type of empowerment for you to go out and do good things? I think just being a technician in general, you have a tremendous opportunity to have a positive influence in a lot of people's lives. I'm not talking about me and my YouTube thing or anything like that. I just think generally as a technician, you have ability, and that ability used correctly can do a lot of good for a lot of people. And you know, in the course of a career, just as an automotive technician, you can help hundreds of thousands of people easy in your lifetime and develop relationships and have a positive influence in the world around you. And that's noble. That's very noble. When you repair something, you're bringing it back from the brink. You are putting a positive spin on something negative. Something's broken. That's kind of a negative thing, and you go in and you fix it. That's kind of a positive thing. So I think just in general, as people, as technicians or as DIYers who like to fix things, I've met a lot of them that were philosophers, and I guess you could say I am to some degree myself, and it all kind of goes hand in hand to me. Like laying my hands on something to make it better, to make it right, is in some way having that positive effect on the physical world around me. And I think that's the most that anybody can hope for in life. So, Has there been somebody that's given you a positive influence? Love to hear about it. Anyway, if you have automotive questions, I would ask that you head over to ericthecarguy.com, check out the welcome video that's there, and it'll tell you about all the wonderful features we have at ericthecarguy.com to help you with your automotive issues. In addition to that, if you wish to connect with me socially, I can be found on Google+, Facebook, and Twitter, and I close each of my videos with, yes, say it with me now, be safe, have fun, and of course, stay dirty. Talk to you next time.